Hey guys, it's NCS Fan 001 here for another one of those weekly trophy list update videos. Today's date is Monday, September 18th, 2023. So this will have covered the week of September 11th through the 17th of 2023. Overall, I would say this was a very productive week, mostly because of one specific trophy, but I did also go ahead and knock out several easy platinums this week because I need to start getting a little bit closer to 750 so I can do some streaming that I plan to do for said platinum number 750. So, the big game I was working on this week, and it's finally been pulled up from being like third or fourth from the bottom of my list last week, is Call of Duty Classic. I did manage to obtain the trophy for completing the game on veteran difficulty, and I'm going to insert my live reaction right around here. Guys, it is finally fucking over. Good lord, this veteran was one of the most miserable experiences I have ever suffered in my life of video games. Good lord, were some of these missions just absolute freaking torture from start to finish. But we are finally done. Let's get that trophy to pop. War Hero. It's not the Platinum. I know that it's not the Platinum, and I do not care because that is one of the hardest trophies I will ever obtain in any game. So, Veteran in this game was a real pain in the ass. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It was not a fun experience. It was a very, very challenging experience. Is it the hardest game out there? Of course it's not, something like Super Meat Boy or Crypt of the Necrodancer or Wolfenstein 2. It's not up to that level, obviously, because I was able to do this one, whereas I don't think there's any way I'd ever be able to do any of those. But this Platinum Trophy and that Veteran Mode are still pretty challenging, and it's going to take a lot of time, patience, really more patience than anything, and really just learning the levels and learning the way the enemies work and where they spawn at. Because that is one slight positive about this game, is that the enemies are fairly predictable in this one. They will usually be in approximately the same spots and the same numbers on each playthrough of the game, which does make it at least a little bit more predictable. So, for the Veteran Mode, I can go ahead and talk a little bit about each individual mission this week, but for the Veteran Mode, the main thing that makes it so hard is that this game operates on a health pack system, or a health bar system, I guess you could call it either way, to where you need health packs in order to heal, except that on Veteran, there are no health packs. So if you take more than like 2 to 3 hits in the mission, you will die. And checkpoints only spawn if you have at least 33% of your health left. So usually any more than one hit will take you out of range to get checkpoints. So in general, the strategy is to play through a majority of the level until you get to the last couple checkpoints or the hardest parts of the level. And then you can start taking damage, but you pretty much can't take much, if any, damage before then. Like I said, everything will kill you usually in about 3-ish hits, sometimes a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more, depending on the weapons being used. But it is a pretty brutal time, so the training mission, of course, you can't, I'm sure you can die in it if you tried hard enough, but it's no combat. St. Marigle's Knight, or Pathfinder 1 here, this one is pretty easy. It's basically your combat tutorial mission. There's only a handful of enemies. It's possible to get through this one without getting hit, even on veteran difficulty. The next mission after that is where the game does start to become a little bit harder. It's nothing too unbearable because the mission's fairly short, but it definitely takes the training gloves off. There are several parts where you have to be really, really careful, where you have to rush at the right times and deal with near or seemingly infinite enemy spawns. I don't know how many of them actually are infinite, though. Then you get to St. Marigle's Day, so this one isn't too bad if you can get past the very first part where you have to grab a Panzerschreck from the church and use it to blow up a tank. If you can get through that part without taking any damage, then the rest of the mission is actually fairly easy. Well, I wouldn't say easy, but it's much more reasonable. As long as you're careful during the final sniping portion and, pick up the sniper rifle, crawl away, and snipe specific targets and then drop in once they're all gone, it's not too bad. Then this is the first vehicle mission right here. This one's really, really annoying. It's not as bad as the later two, but the problem with the vehicle missions is that they are very, very luck-based, to where even if you're just constantly shooting everything, sometimes the enemies will just basically one-shot you or at least do damage to you when they probably shouldn't be able to, and sometimes they just won't hit you, and it's completely random. It's also very random as to whether or not the bullets that you fire actually hit the target, because even if you're popping in and out of aim down sight and using the aim assist, because thank God this game actually does let you use aim assist even on veteran, that's one small mercy they give you, half the time your shots will still just miss. So after that, you get to this next mission, which has a lot of like trench combat and one or two houses at the end. This one's actually fairly easy because you can get a scoped FG-42 in it, which is basically the power of a sniper rifle, but with a 20-round magazine and pretty easy to use. So that mission really wasn't too bad. I got through that one pretty quickly. And these timestamps, by the way, are from when I played through the game on regular... 12 years ago. Yeah, it would have been 12 years ago, 12 years and a month ago that I was playing through this game, and I got every single trophy except for the last two on one day in like a 7-hour time period, because the rest of the trophies in this game are actually really, really easy. Then this mission is the one where you go into like a manor, an actual manor at night, or a chateau or something at night. It's not too terribly hard because you at least get a BAR on that mission, so that definitely makes it a little bit easier. The next one, this is the timed mission, the one where you have 10 minutes to get in and out of a POW camp with a person that you have to rescue. There's actually not a ton of enemies in this mission, so this one didn't give me as much trouble as I was expecting it to. Really, the American campaign is fairly reasonable overall once you sort of get used to the gameplay mechanics. It has some annoying portions where you will die a number of times, but it's at least more reasonable compared to the British campaign and one particular Russian mission. The British campaign is hell on earth from start to finish. Even their final mission that's at the very end of the game is horrible. So the very first mission is at least very short, and a majority of it isn't too bad. The problem is at the end, you have to run all the way down a bridge while being shot at by a tank with no cover. So I don't know who thought that was a good idea on veteran, because it's very clear to me that they didn't really test some areas of this game on veteran, because on that particular mission, it's like you can't heal, but you have to run away from a tank completely in the open. There's no place to take cover or anything. You can't just crawl back. I did try that. And it's purely 100% luck-based as to whether or not you even make it, and much less if you make it with enough health to get through the last objective, in which you have to very, very slowly hop in and out of a flak gun to turn it. You can jump into it for about 1 second at a time, turn it a little bit, immediately jump out and hide, or else you will get killed by something firing from across the bridge, whether it's the tank or the other gunners. So that's where they really start to throw you into the really brutal and somewhat unfair aspects of the game on veteran. The next mission, this one, it's Pegasus Bridge during the day. This one I thought was going to be a lot worse than it was, but I actually found kind of a cheesier way to do it that I'll be able to show off later on. And I'll explain that more when we get down to the last couple trophies, what I'm going to do with this game. So in that one, if you hide in the little guard tower with the machine gun in it that faces across the bridge, you can hop onto the machine gun for a couple seconds, fire it, and then hop off and just repeat that process. After you get your first checkpoint, you will come under attack from a few enemies from behind, but as long as you stay in that little area and just snipe them with the rifle that you're given, it's nothing too bad. You'll come across like between 5 and 10, well, maybe not that many, but probably if you're fast enough about it, about 5 enemies will come from behind you during that portion. Then you get another checkpoint before the final defensive portion, but that is actually really easy because it turns out you don't have to blow up the tanks during that part. You can continue hiding in the guardhouse and just shooting anything that comes near you. You will probably still die a couple of times. It's still a little bit luck-based, but it makes it much, much easier than it would have been otherwise. Then we have Eater Dam, considered by many to be the hardest level in the game, and I can definitely understand where they're coming from, mostly because this is probably the longest mission in the game, because you have to single-handedly infiltrate a dam, and there's just tons and tons of enemies in small, close quarters. The checkpoints are pretty heavily spread out. It's just a miserable nightmare from start to finish, and of course you can't really take any damage during it.
I would definitely recommend trying to save all your health for the way back, so try to keep most or all of your health by the time you finish all the objectives at the bottom of the dam, because then you have to go all the way back up through, and yes, there are new enemies. The one slight mercy to this mission is that it doesn't have any infinite enemy spawn points as far as I'm aware, so that does make it a little more tolerable. Then we get to another horrible mission with the truck ride mission. This is the worst of the 3 vehicle missions because it is once again entirely luck-based. Also, the game, it gives you 1 checkpoint after you complete the section where you have to snipe enemies that are going across a bridge. Getting through that part isn't too bad, and then you get a checkpoint, but then you're supposed to get another checkpoint later in the mission. But for some reason, for many players, myself included, that second checkpoint never occurs. So even if you play through somewhat perfectly, you don't get the benefit of that extra checkpoint, and you have to keep going back several extra minutes to try it again and again. You're given a very limited number of Panzerschrecks. Sometimes your ally fires them off. And once again, it's just entirely random as to whether or not the game decides to let you win. The airfield escape is partially vehicle mission. This one is at least really, really short. You just have to deal with a few enemies on trucks at the beginning of the mission. You have to get through the first part of the mission without taking damage, or you will not beat the second part of it. So you have to have no damage taken by the time you get your checkpoint and get off the truck and get on a anti-air gun, which you then have to use to shoot down several waves of Stukas, but you're also going to be constantly attacked by enemies that respawn on the building to your left. For me, I actually just stayed in the anti-air gun the entire time and just turned it on them, but it still required some luck to not get shot. And then if that wasn't bad enough, then you get the battleship mission, which is considered by some to be the worst mission in the game over the Eater Dam mission. And I would say that this one got me a little more frustrated at times than the dam did, because at least it felt like I was slowly making some progress on the dam, whereas this one felt like I wasn't making as much progress, but it's also a shorter mission. It's just that very first part where you have to get through all of the really crowded hallways is just a miserable experience, and you have to run across an open area while being shot at. You have to clear more of the battleship. It's just a nightmare to get through from start to finish, and it does have a few infinite enemy spawn points as well. Then we get to the Russian campaign, which a majority of the Russian campaign is around the same difficulty or maybe a little bit harder than the American campaign. So this very first mission, Volga River, this one's super easy because there's no combat in it. It requires a little bit of luck to get up the hill at the beginning, but that's literally it, and it's a really short mission. Red Square is fairly short from what actually, no, this one was a little bit more time-consuming. It was a little bit longer than I remembered it being, but it's nothing too bad because at least you have a few allies during it, and you have a good sniper rifle. The train station during the day, this one, from what I remember, is fairly easy compared to some of the other ones. The sewers aren't anything too terrible because it's not a super long mission either. It's just, again, you have to be kind of careful, but it's not horrible. Pavlov's house, this mission, it's actually not the hardest mission in the game like I kind of thought it was going to be. Now, don't get me wrong, clearing the house with the lack of checkpoints during the entire house clearing portion is awful. And aiming the PTRS-41 correctly on the 2 tanks that you have to kill is also awful. But, as it turns out, when the timer pops at the beginning, or excuse me, the end of the mission where you have to hold out for 4 minutes, it's actually really easy because you can literally run out of the side of the house, the destroyed side of it, and run behind a wall and hide there the entire time. And there's about a 50-50 shot of enemies actually finding you there, but even if they do find you, you can usually kill them pretty quickly, and you get a checkpoint with 2 minutes left. So Pavlov didn't turn out to be quite as bad as I thought it was going to be. The factory and the rail yards here, those two were a little annoying, but they weren't anything too bad compared to what we've seen so far. Then you have 2 short tank missions in a row, and neither one of those are particularly hard either. They might take a couple of tries, but they're nothing too terribly bad. And then you just have your trophies that you get for completing all of the American, British, and Russian missions up through here. But there are 3 more basically bonus missions afterward. So this is the American one. This one's actually fairly straightforward. It's up there as one of the easier missions in the game. This one is absolutely horrible. I did not expect this one to suck as much as it did, the V2 rocket mission, but it gave me the most trouble of just about any one individual checkpoint in the game with the very last one where you have to blow up the 3 rockets, because stupid things would keep happening. I swear an enemy would spawn behind me half the time, even if I double-checked every corner. And then the Berlin Reichstag mission. This one is super, super easy. There's only a few enemies you have to kill during it, and you have a lot of allies during it, so it's not too bad. And then you get the Veteran Mode trophy. Now, you are going to notice that this Platinum is actually a lot more heavily obtained than a lot of Call of Duty games. In fact, it's maybe the second most common or third most common Call of Duty Platinum out there. And there's a couple of reasons for this. The main reason is that the game is single-player only, and you can obtain all the trophies except for any 2 of them within about 7-ish hours. Because here's another issue with the game. The difficulty trophies don't stack, so beating the game on Veteran doesn't unlock the Hardened difficulty trophy. I did regular back in the day, but yeah, that's really, really stupid. I don't know why they do that to you. I don't know why they couldn't just let you automatically pop the Hardened trophy and just be done with it at that point, because that would actually make sense, not having to play through the game a 3rd time on Hardened. But it is what it is. So the other thing is, I think that back in the day there was some kind of glitch you could do that allowed you to only beat the final mission on Veteran, which is one of the easiest missions in the game on Veteran. So I think that might have been how the Platinum was a lot more heavily obtained, because if you put a lot of modern day trophy hunters, like new era of trophy hunters, late PS4, early PS5, grown up on shovelware type trophy hunters, and throw them into this game, I guarantee you're going to get a lot of people saying this game is a straight 10 out of 10 and impossible, or just absolutely brutal, breaking controllers left and right. I have a feeling that's what you get if you were doing it that way, if you put in a lot of newer players. I would definitely say the game is probably a solid 8 out of 10 purely because of the Veteran Mode, but it is ultimately doable, and it only took me like a week or a week and a half to do. And then there's a few miscellaneous trophies, but they're all easy, and I'll talk about those when I get the Platinum Trophy video out soon. Well, hopefully soon. I mean, I still got another trophy to get. So what I'm going to do with Hardened is I'm planning to live stream the entire Hardened playthrough so I can show some of the strategies I used for Veteran, but get a lot less frustrated because you actually get health packs. So that's the plan. I just don't know exactly when I'm going to start streaming this, and I'll talk more about that toward the end of this video. So yeah, Call of Duty Classic almost done. 1 trophy left, and it's not the hardest trophy in the game, so hopefully we'll be having that done pretty soon. So then I made a little bit of progress on Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed single player, the PS4 version. I think I only earned like 2 or 3 trophies this week because I only streamed it for 1 night. Which, to be fair, that was one of the most fun streams I've done in a long time. Like, I was slightly buzzed during it, but people were in there happy, talking a lot. I got a bunch of random donations, which was super awesome. Love you guys for that. And it involved a lot of me saying either "in Mother Russia" or just talking in my Russian accent for whatever reason for a large portion of the stream. And it was just an absolute blast. So far, we're most of the way through Tunguska, like well over halfway through everything in Tunguska. I just have to go back and grab collectibles in both Takashima and Tunguska, just because I'm going to collect everything off screen until the last few on Solaris, just to save time, because they're in slightly different places on the PS4 version, because the worlds are slightly different. But let's see, I don't know why that image is still there. So here's one, Invade Tunguska. That's an unmissable story-related trophy, of course. And then destroy a familiar-looking monster. This is a side mission for destroying a Yeti in Tunguska. It's pretty easy. It's just part of a side mission. And then, let's see. Oh, I got this one as well. Or, wait a minute. No, I'm an idiot. I'm sorry. This one down here is the one for killing the Yeti in Tunguska. They both start with T, so I guess I got those confused. This one is an unmissable story trophy for killing Kojiro Kaiju, the final boss of Takashima, and generally the hardest boss fight in the game. Okay, now that I got that correct, did I get anything else this week? I already had that trophy. Yeah, it looks like that's it. I think I tried this one, but I guess I failed at it. And I can also probably go ahead and do the Blast to the Top of Takashima Tower trophy at some point soon. And I've completed every optional mission objective up to this point, including a couple of annoying ones in Takashima. I've completed all the gene blenders up to this point, except for maybe one of them, and then just the collectibles, like I said. I'll show the last few collectibles during the live streams on Solaris, but most of them I'm just going to get on my own to save a lot of time for the future. So next up, like I said, I grabbed 4 quick, easy platinum trophies this week just because I need to start getting my numbers up in order to be ready to get COD Classic as number 750. So I need 6 more platinums before I can do that. I have several more quick, easy games lined up that I can work on this week. So the first 2 I completed were the North American PS4 and PS5 versions of The Wizard and The Slug. This game is pretty easy because it has a assist menu, I guess you would call it. It's basically cheat codes that give you invincibility and infinite ammo and the ability to fly. So as long as you use those, the Platinum Trophy is basically a 1 out of 10, and it takes, I would say, about 15 to 20 minutes to do both versions of the game. So you get 3 trophies from the story, and these 3 require you to complete about the first 4 levels of the game, which doesn't take too long to do, but it's basically the first 4 levels of the game. Complete those, you'll get these 3 trophies. From there, you just go into the boss rush mode from the main menu and defeat all the other bosses. As long as you are using those cheats, you're not going to have any problem with it. The Cat King is the only one that you can't directly damage. You have to, like, knock it into some spikes in the arena, but otherwise, the boss fights are super easy because you have those cheats available to you. So that was the PS4 version. Took me, it looks like, 14 minutes to do. I could have done it a little bit faster, though. And then the PS5 version, I would have done in less than 25 minutes, but I got called away for something during the middle of it, so I got distraction in the way and couldn't quite finish it in the quick time that I was hoping for. But you can absolutely do this platinum in under 15 minutes. You could probably do it, I would say, anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes if you know what you're doing. So nothing too bad about it. It's a game, I guess you could say. It's a strange game. It's not obviously the worst thing I've ever played. It's not one of the better one of these easier platinums, though. And then I obtained the North American PS4 and North American PS5 versions of Pity Pit. This is an East Asia soft game. It is a roguelike game where you dig downward. So it's like that game Downwell, but sort of mixed with Dig Dug at the same time. I know that's how Bad Driver described it in his video, which is actually pretty accurate. So as with most East Asia soft games, there's not a whole lot of trophies in it. You basically just have to do certain actions a certain number of times to unlock all of your trophies. So the nice thing about this game is that all of the trophies are cumulative over the course of several playthroughs. So you can just keep getting to the end of level 1 and then dying and restarting level 1, and your progress will carry over, which means you don't have to get into any of the harder levels in the game. So that's really, really convenient. It makes life much easier. So you have to dig a total of 500 blocks, which is a little bit grindier, but it definitely wasn't the last trophy I got in this one. Everything you dig through counts as a block, so you will get this one over time while going for the more time-consuming trophies. You have to collect a grand total of 100 coins, which is one of the last trophies I got. The game is kind of random with its levels, so you may not always get a good setup to collect coins or materials. Those are items that you get out of certain pieces of floor or blocks, whatever you want to call them. Sometimes they're also just laying around. So those require a little bit of random chance to get some good layouts of each level, but it's nothing too bad. Then you have to buy 5 total materials from the shop. There's a shop at the end of every level of the game. And again, this one's good because it carries over between playthroughs. If you don't have enough money to buy 5 materials your first time through, you'll just have to get back down there a second time to purchase the rest of them. It's nothing too bad, but just might take a couple of extra tries to get all the way to the end of level 1. You have to detonate a total of 6 bombs. Bombs are pretty rare. I didn't have any trouble with this on the PS4 version, but they were rarer for me on the PS5 version. So anytime you find a bomb, just immediately use it to get progress toward this trophy, because it will save you a little bit of time in the long run. And then finally, you have to kill 20 enemies, which is pretty self-explanatory. You either punch them from side to side or drop down on top of them. I think there might be other weapons as well. So this version of the game took me about 15 minutes, whereas the PS5 version of the game only took me 9 minutes. And it went, like I said, it was easier this time because I knew what I was doing on this run of it. It took me a little bit longer to get all the bombs on this one, but everything else was a little bit more quick and concise, so nothing much to worry about. It's an okay East Asia soft game. It is what it is. It's a quicker, easier platinum trophy, but it's not, you know, shovelware territory easy platinum. So let's go ahead and sync up our trophies. So, with that, level 838, 76%, 26,573 total trophies, 743 platinums, 4,869 gold, 7,102 silvers, 13,859 bronzes. So we are still not done with the video yet, even though this one will probably end up running longer than normal, which is probably a good thing. Some people like to listen to the super long videos. Anyway, plans for the upcoming week are to continue working on COD Classic and grab a few other quick, easy platinum trophies, as well as continue working on Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed at some point. But this week is actually going to be pretty busy for me. I have a lot of stuff going on out here in the real world this week. I'm just going to be kind of busy several different days. Like Tuesday, I'm going to be pretty busy. Wednesday morning, stuff to do then, so I'll be exhausted when I get home on Wednesday night. Thursday, I've got plans after work. Friday, I should still be able to stream, but it might not be a super late one because I got to be up super early Saturday because we've got a football game that's at noon on Saturday. So, yeah, it's a super early game that I'm going to, but it's one of the biggest ones of the year. So, yeah, I'm going to be kind of busy this week, so there's a very real chance I don't make a lot of progress on anything this week. I mean, I will try to stream COD Classic and Destroy All Humans like once a piece, but I'm not going to make any guarantees on any of that. We'll have to see, you know, how tired I am after work or how I'm feeling after the game, if I still have my voice left and whatnot. But those are my main two focuses, are COD Classic and Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed, as well as a few other quick, easy platinum trophies. I still have a few other older games that I'd like to go ahead and start and get done during this month, so maybe I will play those if I have the time and the chance to do so. Also, SpongeBob the Cosmic Shake is getting a PS5 version, and I believe it comes out in October, I believe I read, so doesn't matter too much yet, and it won't be like a full trophy series the way it was the first time. But it will be a lot of fun. I am actually excited to play the PS5 version of that and see if I can, you know, do it even a little bit faster than I did last time. But then there's a couple other DLCs that I need to talk about from like the PlayStation Direct and all, as well as the fact that the Nintendo Direct had some solid entries in it for the most part, but the biggest entry of all on that whole live stream was, of course, the fact that they are doing either a remake or remaster of Paper Mario 2 The Thousand Year Door, one of my all-time favorite Nintendo games. It's not coming out till 2024, but when that does come out, that's probably something I'm going to do a playthrough of and a live stream series of, because I can't wait. That game, I love that game when I was a kid, so I can't wait to play through it again and actually hopefully be able to play it well this time instead of doing what I did on my very first ever attempt at beating the game and only invest my points into health because I thought badges were stupid and useless. That was me trying to play RPG type games as a child. But in terms of actual DLCs that I've been hearing about, there are two games to discuss there. One of them is Resident Evil 4 is getting the Separate Ways DLC in like 3 days from the day this video goes up. It's the September 21st is the day we're getting the DLC. We're getting some Mercenaries content as well as mainly Separate Ways. I'm a little bit annoyed that supposedly it's going to cost $10 when it was, of course, free with the original version of the game. I think that's a little bit messed up, a little bit milky from the developers, I guess would be the word you would say, just milking the players and the trophy hunters a little bit. But from what I've heard, it's going to have 7 trophies. I saw that there was like a leak of it on Steam or something, so it looks like it's going to be 7 total trophies. Probably a lot of story trophies and a few like miscellaneous trophies as well. So that's what I've heard about that. So it looks like we are going to have more Mercenaries content as well, but I'm going to assume that it's not going to get any trophy support because the original Mercenaries update didn't give us any trophy support. And at this point, I think it'll be all the content from Mercenaries will now be there from the original version of Resident Evil 4, so about the only thing we'll still be missing would be Assignment Ada, which I haven't heard anything about that one getting brought into this new version of the game. So we will have to see. I don't know if this is going to be like a day one type of purchase for me. We will have to see about that, though. And the other DLC I heard about is that sometime in November, we are getting another Power Wash Simulator DLC for both versions of the game. This time it's Back to the Future themed, and it's supposed to come out sometime in November. Of course, I don't mind that, though, because I love Power Wash Simulator. Kind of nice to go back to it every now and again and just play it again, have some fun, relaxation time, power washing various things. So certainly not going to complain about that. And then from October and beyond, of course, there's GTA 5 if I decide to go back to it, Shadow of the Colossus PS3, which I'm really not looking forward to because I think it's probably even harder than Call of Duty Classic because the PS3 version is known to be kind of problematic. And then, of course, there's the Outer Worlds. That's the only other one that's on my list that I can go back and get more trophies in, which I will do at some point. Again, that's kind of low priority, though. I just need to be able to sit down for a while and actually focus on playing it and learning it instead of trying to play it in a few short increments that I've done so far. So, yeah, that's really the current plans for September and probably leading into October. So that's going to be really about it for this video. So if you guys made it all the way to the end here, leave a like and a comment. Let me know what you have been working on this past week and wish me luck for finishing off COD Classic. Subscribe and ring the bell if you haven't already. If you made it all the way to the end of the video especially, you should do so because I post lots of trophy content every single week. Even though this coming week is probably going to be a lot less content because, like I said, it's going to be really busy. There's also a few videos I need to work on editing, including the second half of the Sekiro Shadows Drink Twice video with Lizard Guy and a few other things that me and him filmed that need to get uploaded at some point. So yeah, that's going to basically be it for this video. I will see you guys probably a little bit this week, so it might not be as consistent this week, but hopefully after that it'll be more normal scheduling again. So, see you guys then.